The standards are important because what we know, and particularly in rural communities, but it's true for the broad, right across Australia anyway, is that the majority of people who come into their end of life and who require end of life care and are managed through their dying won't necessarily see a palliative care service. Often that's because they don't need to see a palliative care service, a specialist palliative care service. And sometimes it's because there isn't access to a specialist palliative care service. And so the development of generalist standards does a few things. The first one is that it allows people who don't see themselves as working in part of a specialist palliative care service to understand what may be needed and to assess themselves around the elements that would be required to provide good end-of-life care. I think the standards also raise the profile of end-of-life care in the general community and remind people who don't see themselves as working in specialist PAL care that they still have a very important role to play in end-of-life care. And I suppose the other thing is that this also means that patients and families can be confident that people who are providing end-of-life care have a way of measuring the quality of the end-of-life care that they get, and over time what we would expect to see is a continued improvement in the quality of end-of-life care provided to all Australians, regardless of whether they see a specialist palliative care service or not.
I think that they're really important because people with a life-limiting illness are everywhere in our community. Some of those people will receive care from a specialist palliative care service, but we know that many, perhaps the majority of people, will receive their palliative and end-of-life care through generalist services. So it's important that we resource and equip those services to be able to provide quality care to patients and their families. So that includes giving services a structure to look at in terms of improving the quality of their service, making sure they're up to date with current practice, and able to provide the same level of quality and support to all people across our communities in terms of supporting them to live well and preparing for the end of their life and planning ahead for that care. It's about ensuring that people have access and equity to care no matter where they live.
I guess from my perspective, despite decades of discussion and policy support, we still see patients with palliative care needs who are still not identified as having these needs, and so they can live with illness badly and sometimes die badly, and it's just not good enough. And I don't know any clinician within the healthcare sector that is wanting this. We all want to do better. We want to enable optimal palliative care, but we do need to do better, and these standards are one more support in enabling this. We need to resource excellence in care, and I feel that these standards provide us with a base of where we're aiming to get to, but I do think we need to combine it with adequate resourcing and workforce development and support.
You know, as any health or social care worker, no matter what setting, whether that's community, primary health care, in clinics, in hospitals, in aged care facilities, we will all encounter patients and families for whom in their journey palliative care is relevant, and they may not necessarily require specialist palliative care services or referrals. Yeah, all health and social care providers, I think, should have minimum core skills or competencies in the provision of palliative care and understand palliative care approaches to care. Care for somebody with a life-limiting illness or those who are dying it's a universal experience. It's not limited to a specialist palliative care service, and it doesn't only happen in settings where there's specialist palliative care. So I think we have a task to make sure that all health and social care professionals are equipped with those basic skills. I think another really, really important reason is not just the care that we're providing to patients and their families, but I think that being skilled in quality generalist palliative care is really also important for the health and social care provider themselves. I think that palliative care gives a health worker a really good grounding and understanding to recognise that not everything can be fixed or mended, that you can't always make somebody better, that you need to learn to cope with uncertainty and complexity, and that it's okay to not always have the answers, and that it's okay to express to patients and families that you don't always have the answers, but that being there with them, walking beside them on that journey and offering the presence of someone who cares is also really important. And I think that's an important point for health and social care professionals to remember, that can really help them in their own care and self-care as well, so that you don't come away from an experience with a sense of helplessness.
We all bring a slightly different lens when we're working in different settings, whether it be in healthcare or aged care. We come with different experiences and training. And I think when we're working together and sharing our different viewpoints, that we're doing the best work for the people that we're caring for. And my experience has been that the best outcomes are often when a team is working really well together, and respecting each other's viewpoints as well, and remembering who we're actually there to work for. We're working for the individual and their family or carer network. And so for me, it's absolutely imperative that we've got good multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary care.